What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Today's video, I'd like to give you guys my post-game thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons loss to the Detroit Lions. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for your continued support. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I mentioned in today's video, I do want to give my post-game thoughts on yesterday's loss to the Detroit Lions. This was the first loss of the season and the first away game of the season. So our Falcons are now 2-1. Good news is our Atlanta Falcons is still in first place as it stands. Tonight, the Buccaneers do take on the Philadelphia Eagles in Monday Night Football. So right now, the Buccaneers are 2-0. If the Buccaneers win tonight, they'll be in first place with a 3-0 record. But I still feel really good about this Atlanta Falcons team. Yesterday, we were beat pretty soundly by the Detroit Lions. I don't want to make any excuses. I want to take my hats off to the Detroit Lions, even though I think that the Falcons went into this game with the wrong game plan, trying to pass the ball around the field instead of running the ball and setting up play action. You still have to take your hats off to the Detroit Lions because I believe they have a really good football team. For them to start off the year beating the Kansas City Chiefs, and then in week 2, they actually lost in overtime to the Seattle Seahawks. And then they beat us yesterday. So they could easily be 3-0 on the season. But I do believe that that's a really good Detroit team. And I do want to take my hats off to them. I don't want to make any excuses. Yesterday was a really good butt cutting. They did beat us really soundly yesterday. And they pretty much came into the game and were the more physical team in that game. They dominated the trenches. They ran the ball, they threw the ball, but they dominated in all 3 phases. They won on offense, they won on defense, they won on special teams. So we were outplayed and outcoached in yesterday's game. So hats off to the Detroit Lions on the win. But it's a couple things that I think the Falcons have to look at doing better as we move forward in the season, as we head into next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars in this London game. The first thing, the Falcons have to get back to their identity. We have to get back to running the football. We have to feed Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier to set up play action. We have to stay ahead of the chains in this game. To me, we didn't do a good job of staying ahead of the chains. We got behind the chains a lot in yesterday's game because we were throwing the ball on first down and we really weren't getting a lot of yards or getting any yards. Either it was a sack or as an incomplete pass. Majority of the first downs yesterday in the game. So we had a lot of third and longs and a lot of second and longs and a lot of third and longs in yesterday's game, which is doesn't bode well for your offense when you're allowing the defensive line of the Detroit Lions to pin their ears back. So I definitely think one of the adjustments that the Falcons have to make is start off the game running the ball, throwing those body blows against the opponents' defensive line, and allow your offensive line to be aggressive. We all know that our offensive line is a pretty solid offensive line in the NFL, but they've struggled over the last, I'll say since this season, they struggled with pass protection, mainly because you want to keep the opposing team off balance and you want to allow your offensive line to be physical. And the guys that we have up front, the Caleb McGarry's, Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, Drew Dahlman, Matthew Bergeron, those guys are best in run blocking over pass protection. And you want your guys going forward. You've heard me say this numerous times. You don't want to have your offensive line playing on their heels. And in yesterday's game, we were pretty much on our heels. Our offensive line was on their heels pretty much the whole game because we decided to throw the ball 38 times. And we didn't do a good job of running the ball and allowing our offensive line to do what they do best, which is to be physical. One of the second things that I think we need to adjust or make adjustments on, and I mentioned this in our live show yesterday after the game, is we have to look at more deep passes down the field. We have to implement guys like Scotty Miller who have speed, who can threaten safeties and threaten corners on deep patterns. They had one pass down the field to Drake London, which was like a 30-yard completion where he was able to high point the ball down the sideline. I want to see more plays like that. And we had one deep shot to Kyle Pitts in the game. Even though it was an off-target pass, he was in one-on-one coverage, and the Detroit Lions pretty much was loading the box and basically daring the Atlanta Falcons and Desmond Ridder to throw the ball down the field. So in those situations, we have to take those deep shots down the field, and allow, or you want the opposing defense basically to back those safeties off a little bit, back those linebackers off. Yesterday, the Detroit Lions basically was sitting on all of our routes. Guys like Brian Branch played a really, really good game, but those guys were flying around. They were pretty much sitting on all of the short routes. And when we did go long, I really feel like we could have exposed that Detroit Lions secondary if we would have threw the ball down the field a little bit more, because we have guys like Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Mac Hollins who are really big wide receivers, physical guys. And then Scotty Miller adds that speed element. And I really think we could have took advantage of the passing game a little bit more if we would have decided to throw the ball down the field a little bit more in this game. Now, another thing that I want to see for our Atlanta Falcons in the passing game moving forward is maybe like some back shoulder throws. I really feel like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, those guys are really good as far as they have great body control for their size. And I really feel like on the goal line and even on some of those, first down, second down one, in any passing situation, I really feel like we have to start using these big body guys on those back shoulder throws. And I really feel like Drake London is going to have to get on one accord with Drake London, and Desmond Ridder will have to get on one accord with what route they like the best. If you remember when we had Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they had chemistry and they had certain plays that they would pretty much run, and they had go-to routes. And I really feel like right now, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, they really don't have a lot of go-to type routes. If you would think about like an Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams, those guys were good at throwing that back shoulder throw. And I feel like because Drake London has that size, when you line him and Kyle Pitts on the outside, I really feel like we could take advantage of one-on-one coverage with with either a back shoulder throw or an in-cut route. Any pattern that the wide receiver and the quarterback are on one accord with. I really feel like they need to get them a go-to route that they can go to when things get tight. They have hand signals, whatever they need to get, work on in practice. But I really feel like we have to get some go-to routes with these wide receivers that are kind of like the bread and butter plays as far as the passing game goes. And the third thing that I think we need to improve moving forward, and some adjustments we need to make, is on the defensive line. And I talked about this yesterday as well. And that's pretty much adding some of your speed guys off the edge. I really feel like Calais Campbell, he's doing the best that he can, and he has played well for us. But I feel like we need to slide Calais Campbell on some of these passing downs. I feel like they need to slide him inside next to Grady Jarrett at that 3 tech, and allow us to bring in guys that are a little bit more athletic on the edge, like the D'Angelo Malones, like the Arnold Ebiketis, like the Lorenzo Carters. I really feel like we need to add those guys, because those guys have that closing speed where if the quarterback scrambles out, you have a guy that can close on the quarterback really fast. And we have the guys to do it. Even with Caden Ellis, he's another guy who he played really well yesterday, but Caden Ellis had 7 sacks for the Saints last year, and he's a guy that's really good in his pursuit on closing on the quarterback as far as sacking the quarterback. So I really feel like we have to implement some of these more athletic guys. Bud Dupree did play a pretty good game yesterday as well. To me, he played his best game yesterday, but I definitely think that we have work to do. And that's the next thing that I want to see implemented on the defensive side of the ball, so we can generate more pressure as far as sacks and things of that nature. I feel like Calais Campbell still has a skill set. Is still a really physical and good defensive end and defensive lineman. But I think what makes Calais Campbell a really good defensive lineman is he's a guy that you can move around on the defensive line. So I don't feel like we should just be lining him up in one spot. I feel like if you move him around a little bit, you can take advantage of the weakness on opposing offensive line. So let him line up over the weaker players on the offensive line for other teams, and then bring in some of those speed edge rushers, even like a Zach Harrison. Zach Harrison is a guy we drafted out of Ohio State that looked really good in the preseason and training camp, and he's a guy that's a little bit more fleet of foot over a Calais Campbell. And I think if we bring in some of those edge rushers that are a little bit faster, we'll be able to close on a quarterback a little bit faster, make that ball come out a little bit faster, and also possibly get more sacks. But with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts on yesterday's game. Like I said, it's not panic time for our Atlanta Falcons. I really feel like this Falcons team has to go back to the drawing board. But I definitely think that yesterday's game was a wake-up call for our team, that we have stuff that we need to work on, and we have to bring that intensity, that physical intensity. We have to find our identity again after yesterday's game. But with that being said, this has been your boy Jew. I have a lot more content coming for you guys. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed, peace.